All right. So one model, and again, lots of models, but one model you might consider for starting a new local organizing, and let me make sure that's not in the way. Okay. Um, is this four-phase model. And to be honest, I forget exactly where I found it. So if someone knows, we'll put a link to the thing, to the source. But I like this four-phase model as a way of kind of starting a new Green Party chapter in your community. So what your organization does is it goes through essentially four initial phases, and then you're kind of a real organization, so to speak, right? You're doing real organizing work. You start with a groundwork phase where before you even start taking action, you have to know your turf. You have to know the community that you want to organize. So you need to learn more about your community. Who are the people with power? Who are the people that make decisions in your community? Whether that's elected officials or if big nonprofit organizations or anything like that. And you want to talk to people in the community to try to find out what are the existing issues, what are the things that are not being addressed. What are the trends, the political trends that are going on? Is your community suddenly a bunch of people became libertarians or something, right? It's you want to know more about your community before you get started, so that you can adjust your strategy as necessary. The second phase is you of course start your organizing committee. So that's you and a couple of people who might be initially interested in starting, get together and set some initial goals, pick one or two issues like we said that you want to focus on organizing around, and you start talking to folks in the community. You start building trust, like we were saying, right? You start talking to people and asking what are the issues that they're concerned about, what do they want to see done in the community, and if they join the organization, what can we organize together to make that happen. That eventually turns into the third phase, which is a general recruitment drive. After you've kind of recruited your initial organizers, you want to reach out to the larger community. So that's doing, door knocking, community meetings, all that stuff to make sure that you're learning more about what people want, but also letting them know that you exist, that you have a plan that's coming together, and you're inviting them to come join in making that plan and building that organization. And then finally, your fourth phase here is when you form it, your kind of full established organization, right? You set this is where it starts to get the more of the business meeting type stuff, right? Like you set your bylaws, you set your goals, you maybe elect leadership, depending on what type of things you're going for. You pick your candidates to run for office, and then you go from there. So by the time you've reached that point, you have a kind of fully developed organization to keep up your organizing efforts. So I think this is kind of a good way to think about getting started, that you want to go through the groundwork, recruiting, and then eventually forming your organization.
Yeah, and when you're doing your groundwork, you can to kind of tie. So the elephant in the room with political organizing is kind of social media, right? And the major parties have kind of gone to I don't know if this is a proper term for it, but a media-based electoral strategy. Republicans do it more than Democrats in my experience, but Republicans and Democrats are not knocking doors in their community as the key driver of electoral campaigning. It's about Facebook ads, it's about YouTube videos, it's about mailers and all the things that text blasts. The Republicans in Illinois think that I'm someone else who's not me, and no matter how many times I've told them that it's not me, they keep sending me texts. So now they're getting an angry socialist responding. But the mainstream politics has moved away from interpersonal politics, where you talk to directly to people in your community about the issues. It's all turned one directional, them telling you what to think, telling you who to vote for. So they've moved very much into social media. What I tell people when I do social media workshops is if your social media is not tied into an on the ground organization, it's useless. It's sending people into a void. It's recruiting someone who can't be engaged and moved up the ladder to further engagement. So when you're doing your groundwork, that doesn't mean, you can use social media to help you learn what the key things are, right? This is when you have issues surveys, right? You can have one on social media, and you can have one when you're knocking doors. What the simple one we used throughout the Howie Hawkins campaign was, what are your top 3 issues, right? And they give them to us, and then they'd all get broken down, and we'd see where people were at. I'll say in the Howie Hawkins campaign, those surveys completely, they told us that we were right on track with our messaging and our focus in terms of our base, right? Because that's who you talk to generally with social media, is your base. When you go into the recruitment drive, right, and you've gone through your organizing committee, you've kind of selected your initial issues and goals, right? So your issue is, you want to deal with this environmental problem in your town. In my town down the street, we have an old Pillsbury plant that's full of asbestos. Somebody literally tried to tear it down decades ago and covered half the town in asbestos dust. And there's constant conversations about what to do with it. It's an abandoned Pillsbury mill where they used to make rolls and everything. So if that's my issue, I can use social media to have a petition that says, we need to put in a solar panel plant there instead of, whatever horrible thing our neoliberal city council is going to do, right? And you can use, this is the point where you start like casting this wide non-branded net. Are you interested in this issue? Not this is where we're at on it, not the Greens are going to solve the problem, but are you is this a concern to you? And then that, once you start getting those people, those are kind of your low-hanging fruit when you're doing a recruitment drive, right? You contact all those people, start talking to them about solutions, start talking about independent organizing, trying to get them engaged and involved in the organization, right? And obviously social media can be used for all kinds of promotion and education and things like that too. But that's grassroots as a smaller, third party, as a grassroots third party. We need to expand our base. We need access to the people that we aren't already connected to, and that's where social media can come in. It can't be, this kind of organizing can't be run completely from digital platforms. There's got to be some real world stuff that it plugs into.
All right, so so we have this 4-phase model here that you can think about to get started.